Are you turned off by artificial flowers? Think they look cheap and nasty? Well, I decided to put this box as Amaranth in Blooms to the test. It's so much easier to make a purchase online when you've had a personal recommendation, and this particular company was recommended to me on one of the floristry groups I belong to on Facebook. If you're thinking about buying artificial flowers, I would carefully look at what the individual flowers look like. My personal preference is to get them to look as lifelike as possible, so I really stretched my budget and bought the most expensive blooms I could afford. First out of the box are these beautiful white snapdragons or anthuriums. They're a lovely creamy coloured white, and the stems have got a sort of velvety feel to them, and they do look really, really lifelike. I'm certainly very pleased so far. These stems are 60 centimetres long, so another thing to think about when you're buying your flowers, just to make sure you know how long they're going to be and whether they're going to be the right length for the vase you want to arrange them in, or for whatever purpose you want to use them for. I really like the closed buds at the top of those particular stems, which does add that real lifelike look to them. The next thing I've got is this Dusty Miller, the Sonecchio Greenery, which is really fashionable for vintage inspired weddings at the moment. And again, the leaf shape is just really, really lifelike. They've got a lovely textural, velvety quality to them. And the stems have little ridges on them, really mimicking the natural, I was going to say flower, the natural foliage stem. And then who doesn't love a peony? They have such a short season, and this is one of the reasons I am drawn to silk flowers, is it means that you can extend the natural season of any fresh flowers that you've got at home. So I'm posting this in May, so our peonies in the garden are just about coming into bloom, and they'll probably only last a week, but I can add a few stems of my artificial flowers into my vase of homegrown peonies, and they will just last and last and last. And I think that's another top tip for you, is to use your artificial flowers that are just about in season. So the peonies will look fantastic from the late spring through to early summer and a little bit beyond, but they will look a little bit unnatural or discordant if you display them at home in the winter months when they're not readily available. But they're a really great tool for extending the natural life of your flowers and for supplementing anything you might have grown at home or bought from your florist. And of course you can play around with the blooms. You couldn't do this with a natural flower, but I just wanted to show you just the lovely quality and the number of petals that are here in these particular blooms. And next out of the box are these lovely long stems of Eucalyptus. They've got some beautiful veining on the top surface of the leaves, but they do look ever so slightly plasticky when you see the back side of the leaf. But of course, when you've got these arranged in a vase, you won't be seeing the underside. It'll be the top surface that you'll be able to look at. And these stems here are 95 centimetres long. So again, just being mindful of how long the stems are. These are 95 centimetres, but of course the snapdragon I showed you first of all was only 60 centimetres. So if you wanted to put the two together in the vase, you would just have to make sure that they looked a good length, or be prepared to bend under the long stem ends of the eucalyptus to make the flowers and the foliage fit more naturally together. And then the roses. These were the best quality artificial roses I think I've seen anywhere. So you can see that the stem ends have been curled under to fit them in the box, so they'll straighten out really easily. But I just love the natural tinting on this rose. The sepals, which are the protective bits of the green that protect the natural bud as it flowers. Look at those leaves, lovely and glossy, really mimicking the natural rose leaf. And the length there, I think that said 53 centimetres there. And if you look down the stem, it's even got little thorns. So just a really, really good quality rose. And I just absolutely love these. And here's a close-up of the thorns. Who would have thought the thorns were such a vital part of your artificial flowers? And normally with fresh flowers, we see the thorns as being, a right nuisance because they're sharp and they ping into you. But of course, on an artificial flower, they are soft and plasticky. And the last lot of flowers that I bought were these dahlias. So again, dahlias are a really fashionable flower at the moment. These are 60 centimetres long, described as the green dahlia, but they've got a little fleck of pink in, and as I turn the back of the flower over, you can just see that lovely detailing on the back. And notice how I'm just adjusting the head of the flower, so they've been packed flat for delivery. So whenever you pull out your artificial flowers, you don't have to arrange them how they arrived. Because they've got a thick wire stem going through the middle, you can adjust the angle of the flower heads and the buds and separate out the leaves so they start to look really natural rather than a uniform factory produced piece. I'd love to know what you think about silk flowers. Leave me your views in the comments underneath this video, and if you fancy taking a look at the flowers I bought online, I'll leave a link to Amaranth and Blooms. So this video hasn't been sponsored in any way. I just thought it would be interesting for you to see what a box of artificial flowers looked like if you were deciding that you wanted to use them to decorate your home, or perhaps even use them for your own DIY wedding flowers. So I'm going to pack everything away and store that back in my workshop until I'm ready to put my flowers in a vase or use them in class. And if you are going to be using your stems, as I say, you don't need to use them the full length of your flower. You could bend the stems up, but what I ended up doing was buying a really sturdy pair of wire cutters so I could use my flowers as if they were fresh flowers and have lots of different lengths. And that's what makes your flower arrangement look more natural, by having some longer stems and some shorter. So I did have to get some quite heavy duty wire cutters because they are really strong wires that run up through the inside of the plastic coated stems. So that's all for me for now, and I'll see you next time.